This week, I want to talk to you about Grease. No, not about that great movie from the 70s starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, but I want to talk about Grease as in lubricants. Okay? Now, there is something called the National Lubricating Grease Institute. Yes, there is an organization that keeps track of manufacturers of grease, the quality of them, how they're made, and what they're good for. Now, when most of us go out there, you go into an auto parts store, you're going to buy grease, and it's just your basic type of grease that we're all familiar with, and it's got the consistency of maybe peanut butter. But the reality of it is, greases come in a lot of different viscosities, the same way oil does. And the rating on them is from 000, which is just about the consistency of olive oil, all the way up to a number 6, which would be so thick it would be like cheddar cheese. That's how thick it would be. Here it is. Here's a good display of it. It tells you exactly what the thicknesses and the viscosities are compared to something you would be more familiar with, whether it's cooking oil, applesauce, frozen yogurt, whatever it may be. But there are different consistencies in the grease that you're going to use in certain bikes. So if you're going to use something, say, in the steering bearings of your bike, you're not going to want something that's too thick, okay? You're going to want something a little on the softer side that's going to move around in that bearing and in the races a little bit easier. If you're going to grease something, say, a wheel bearing of your bike, or many of you have trucks, and I'm sure you have trailers, you're going to want something a little thicker in there, maybe a 4 or a 5 when it comes to viscosity and that type of grease. Now, something you have to keep in mind is that your bearings get hot. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. How hot do they get? Well, that's going to depend on what kind of grease you should be using. A grease needs to melt, but not melt to the point of where it's going to migrate away from your bearing. You don't want it to migrate away. You want it to stay around the bearing. You want it to get just liquid enough to move around and keep lubricating the bearing without running out. You don't want it so thick, though, that it doesn't get hot, it doesn't liquefy to some point and move around at all. So next time you're out and you're in an auto parts store or you're doing a bearing change or cleaning your bearings and races on your bike, think about the viscosity of the grease. And when you go out, you'll get the right stuff for the job. I want to thank Amsoil, a former sponsor of this show. They've got a great little list here, and they've got a lot of information on their website too. So if you go over to amsoil.com, you'll find out a lot more about grease, viscosities, and different places and ways you can use it. So next time you're out shopping for grease, try that.